Halo Campaign Evolved is the gift that keeps giving in the worst ways imaginable. Now it's being confirmed that the game itself has been ousted as being a complete nightmare behind the scenes. And when we compare it to the games released around it like the Black Ops 1 and 2 re-releases, man, it paints a picture that Microsoft nor 343 saw coming. It's getting pretty bleak out there, but let's get into it. So this information comes from Mr. Rebs Gaming, who has accurately leaked a ton in the past from Halo in general. So I can confidently share this knowing that what's being said is likely very true, and I will leave a link to his channel in the description box below as well. But as Gaming Bolt reported here, Halo's troubled development has been a mess behind the scenes, and that's putting it lightly. And now developers who want to remain anonymous are speaking out about the conditions of what was being done behind the scenes. The first revelation is that Abstraction Studios, that's the people that helped make the Oblivion and Metal Gear Solid 3 remasters, did at first anyways also work on this Halo remake. However, interestingly, according to Mr. Rebs, his sources told him that everything that Abstraction has done for Halo Remake has actually been removed. As seen here, Abstraction's work was completely tossed out of the final game, and Abstraction's name was also scrubbed from the credits of Halo's remake. And this is one of the bigger reasons as to why the Halo remake was buggy and unfinished at launch, because Halo Studios did not have the proper QAs in place to actually test the game properly prior to release. So they, knowingly, like many other games, sold people a broken game at release, hoping that the name of Halo would carry them across the finish line. Another big misfire was that Halo Remake was being done on Unreal Engine 5, which was unfortunate, because this engine, like 90% of the time, leads to unoptimized games that don't run well. But Halo Studios used it because they can easily then outsource development to cheaper labor in the world. And Halo, again, no different, right? Originally, the Halo games by OG Bungie were done on the Blam engine, which if you played the OG Bungie Halos, you would know those games were pretty solid gameplay-wise. Yeah, there were barely any glitches. Well, glitches that did happen that ruined the game, they didn't really exist. They were funny ones at least, but you got the idea. Anyways, according to the leak, 343 originally believed that they could just import the assets from Bungie's Blam engine straight to Unreal. It didn't work as intended though, and everything had to be remade from scratch in order for it to work properly with this new engine that they were tasked with using. And these developers then leaked that this led to massive delays and several milestones being missed internally. Everything was, well, a nightmare. The leaks held nothing back though. As seen here, the anonymous devs also claimed that every problem circled back to the studio leadership, which is why the multiplayer game that was planned got canned. Crunch was horrible, deadlines got missed, and because of the problems with Unreal Engine 5, the game couldn't even use in-game cutscenes properly. Instead, they had to use pre-rendered ones. This then led to Project Ekor, which was the code name for the multiplayer Halo game, getting removed from 343's release schedule. They simply could not finish the game. Apparently, it was cancelled to prioritize Campaign Evolved. This remake needed, as the developers revealed, an all-hands-on-deck approach just to get this thing out the door, despite them also knowing full well it was not finished and it would also disappoint fans, but they did it anyways. Project Ekor was meant to be a multiplayer-only Halo title that would have incorporated Battle Royale elements to Halo's systems, which may sound cool on paper. But then you remember that it's 343 doing it, so immediately all that hype falls out the window. What I don't seem to understand so far is how a studio so mismanaged for so long has been allowed to exist the way that it has by Microsoft. And these problems clearly have not been fixed by rebranding the studio or claiming that it's somehow a new beginning. It's just the same people in charge of Halo again who caused all the problems to begin with that are still there. It's so obvious that nothing noteworthy can be done here as long as things remain as they are, but they just keep doing it anyways. Apparently there's also a mainline Halo game in development, which that fills me with nothing but dread at the thought of it existing, because if 343 can't probably remake a game where everything is already designed for them, what hope do they really have with a new game? A lot of what I've seen online in regards to those new missions and Campaign Involved have circled the same realization too, that those new missions are honestly nothing special, and they prove that this team cannot be trusted to make a full original game of their own with this IP. I keep saying they need to let Halo go out to pasture and let it pass away for good this time, but Microsoft refuses to give up on this IP, I guess, and thus the dog water is going to continue, guys. We're going to come back to this in a second, but Pure Xbox, as seen here, also reported on Halo's actual sales figures, and the numbers are actually, well, surprisingly low given what Halo should be hitting these days. The highest player count of the bunch is on Xbox, Xbox where Halo's remake sold around 900,000 copies so far as of this video being made. The majority of these sales came from the Premium Edition upgrade, which allowed Game Pass users to get early access to the game for a cheaper price than normal. So those 900,000 copies then were sold roughly to some capacity at a lower amount than the full asking price, and then the PS5 version, that equated to about 452,000 copies so far, and Steam somewhere had around 212,000 copies. Overall, this means that Halo, as of this video being made anyways, is sitting somewhere around 1.5, almost 1.6 million copies sold. While not terrible, it's also not great either, considering this is, well, Halo that we're talking about. This game should have easily sold more, but I just don't think the game series has the same level of status it used to thanks to the people involved. Some may say, well, it's because the game is a remake of an older game. Maybe people don't want those older games over the newer ones. You could be right, but there's a duo of games released recently that proved this was all wrong. This brings me to the re-releases of Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and 2, which, as you likely know, they were re-released on PlayStation 4 and 5 by Activision just about a month ago. These releases, they weren't even remasters or remakes. They were just the same games as they were on the PS3, but now they're playable on current hardware. As Xputer.com showed here, those Black Ops re-releases ended up selling 32 copies to every 1 copy sold of Halo Remake within their release windows. That's a brutal comparison, but it's true, unfortunately for Halo, as Alinea Analytics claims, as you can see there. Black Ops 2 sold over 8 million units in a month. Black Ops 1 sold 3 million copies. That's about 11 million so far sold. Of these re-released PS3 games on PlayStation 4 and 5 alone, by the way, since these games are already readily available on other platforms like Xbox or Steam, obviously. A caveat here is that the Black Ops re-releases did sell at a discount of about 50% each, well, during their release windows anyways. Both games were sold for about $25 Canadian where I live, if you have PlayStation Plus, of course, meaning that you can get both Black Ops games for less than the price of Halo Campaign Evolved. And the Black Ops re-releases had not only their campaigns, of course, but multiplayer intact too, and zombie modes as well. Very obviously, this was now a huge seller because the content sold was a big enough carrot on a stick for people to hit add to cart. Where again, Halo was just the campaign with some bonus missions at that. This doesn't surprise me too much, since the original Black Ops games are touted as some of the best FPS multiplayer you can really have, and the nostalgia bait clearly made people show up and buy them day one. Apparently, the next re-release is going to be Call of Duty World at War. That's the rumor anyways. I assume it will also be released at $25 Canadian, with again zero visual enhancements or anything like that, and that release will likely also make Activision boatloads of money too when that releases as well, no doubt. I would have been far more receptive to these re-releases if they at least remastered them with sharper visuals and the like, but clearly that didn't matter if they sold the way that they did. I mean, in case you didn't know, that re-release of Black Ops 1 and 2 actually, it eclipses Halo 3 at release, if you can believe it. Halo 3, in case you don't know, sold about 2.5 million copies in its first day back in 2007. It reached around 8 million copies sold by January 2008. When it was all said and done, Halo 3 sat somewhere close to 14, almost 15 million copies sold on Xbox 360. Granted, obviously, Halo 3 released when the gaming industry was a lot smaller. It had less players and all that too. Whereas these Call of Duty re-releases are being released in a much bigger player pool and at a cheaper price, so I know it's not really a fair comparison. But I do bring it up anyways because 11 million copies of any game being sold in this day and age in a month, by the way, is nothing to laugh at. That's crazy. It just shows how much pull Call of Duty has still on people's wallets, and this experiment likely tells Activision they don't have to do anything to these games either to keep making money like this. Just port, add to cart, money starts printing pretty much. I could easily see them even remaking Black Ops 1 eventually down the line, and especially 2. And they would likely sell another 10, maybe 20 million copies, no problem again. But what this also tells me, given what Campaign Evolved has achieved on all platforms versus Black Ops on just PlayStation, is that Halo is just not as revered as it used to be. That has become very obvious. So it's no wonder why the Halo developers are now anonymously leaking information to the public, because Halo can never reach the numbers they used to within these constrained conditions. If they could, we wouldn't be having developers risking their livelihoods just to get this information out. And as I was writing this video, even more Halo news came out that is, well, not good. So Smash JT was able to find the photos on LinkedIn. Here's the first Halo dev that has apparently been laid off. So you have Paul Morris, a producer on Halo Campaign Evolved, has officially been laid off following the launch of the game. So that's someone in position of power being let go. And you have another another producer named Nick, as seen here, who has also been confirmed they got laid off from Halo Studios too. He's been with 343 for a while, and suspiciously weird that 2 producers of all things have been let go so far. There's no other mentions yet as of like anyone else being laid off so far as of this video being made anyways. So if there happens to be more info that comes out later on, I apologize if it's not here in the video, but either way, it seems that some sort of layoffs are happening to some degree over there. Am I surprised by any of this? No, not at all. It was really only a matter of time. I mean, in my previous video, I talk about how Bethesda devs and such wanted us all to save them from their own terrible decisions when making video games. And I brought up in that video how 343 Industries, when making Halo back in the day, went out of their way to actually hire people specifically who didn't like Halo as a franchise to work on it because, in their opinion, by hiring people who hated Halo, it would allow these developers to bring something new to the franchise to change it for better in theory, or at least that's how these morons thought anyways. I have no idea how anyone would think that's actually a good idea when it's so obvious. If you bring people in who hate the thing that they're working on, all they're going to end up doing is turning that thing they hate into something it was never meant to be in the first place. Let me give you good examples, okay? In like Asian companies, they tend to do the opposite for this, right? For example, the guy who is the president of Falcom right now, which if you don't know who that is, they make really cool art like JRPGs like the East Games, Trails of the Sky, or Cold Steel even. So that dude that's now their president, he was a mega fan of that studio's games before he even started working there. Then he got a job there because he loved Falcom's games and eventually worked his way up to help them make their games because, you know, he loved them so much. His name is Toshihiro Kondo, and he has been with Falcom since 2007, and their games are great because the man who now leads them already loved their games, and he wants people to love them as much as he does, and that's why their identity has been like kept intact for like what now, over 20 years now, I guess, with like him at the helm, I mean. And same even goes for From Software, right? Hidetaka Miyazaki, the father of Soulsborne games, he worked at From Software because he wanted to switch careers after he had an epiphany while playing Ico on PlayStation 2. He then left his job behind, he joined From Software as a video game designer, and he fell in love with the medium. And what do we have? We have Demon Souls now, Dark Souls, Sekiro, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, you name it, the Dusk Bloods are coming too. All because Miyazaki loves video games, and he wants people to love them as much as he does, and that's why he makes them. The point here is that you gain nothing by filling your company with people who hate the thing that they're making. And having Halo developers openly admit that they dislike the franchise is akin to all the games journalists that are out here right now, who have also openly admitted how much they dislike video games, yet they continue to write and cover them either way. It's like, no wonder video game journalism credibility and loyalty is in a literal toilet. The entire industry, in a Western sense at least, is full of people who don't want to be there in the first place. Shouldn't they just leave then? Clearly Halo's not getting better with this design philosophy at its helm. All these people have done is just ruin Halo, and what's the reward? You get laid off now? It's not really the win that you think it is. All you did was prove to your naysayers that you had no business being in your position to begin with. I really couldn't imagine even running my YouTube channel while hating video games. Like, that makes no sense to me. I think it's very obvious to anyone watching how much I love gaming and how I want to protect it from, you know, stupid people. Like, these morons are ruining things, and now they're kicking and screaming as they're being escorted out. Like, what do you want us to do? It's your fault. Again, your Halo remake game, which costed millions to make, sold less than a re-release of Call of Duty Black Ops that had nothing changed about it. And they beat you guys as a single console release as opposed to quite literally the entire gaming ecosystem being open for business for this Halo remake. Well, minus Switch 2, of course, you get the idea, but it doesn't make sense, right? No wonder the developers are leaking the information and rejecting their own leadership the way that they have. Halo Studios, it's sort of like a pirate ship bordering on mutiny, and the other pirates are just opposing their captain and making him walk the plank to just feed him to the sharks. Like, what did any of these people expect? That they could just ruin Halo forever? What a stupid design decision. I'm not even sad for these people. I'm mostly just left baffled. It's really dumb, man. Idiots. As Reese Elliott of Elenia Analytics said here, that lazy port of Black Ops 1 and 2, it led to somewhere near $130 million in revenue, which Sony takes 30% obviously, because it released on their platform. So Sony and Microsoft, who owns Call of Duty now, made off like bandits by doing nothing but hitting copy and paste. How embarrassing does it have to be that a Black Ops re-releases be your Halo remake like this, and the fact that they're doing a Halo 2 remake apparently next? I have to ask the uncomfortable question, why even do that, right? It's so obvious that nobody wants what Halo Studios is cooking. Their food smells, the kitchen stinks, and the staff are defecating in the coffee machine at this point, okay? There's nothing but abysmal returns of investments here. One name that kept popping up, however, in Mr. Reb Gaming's reports on Halo's mismanagement is a guy named Pierre Hintz. That's this guy background screen here. So he's the dude currently in charge of Halo Studios and Halo as a franchise. As Mr. Reb said in his own video near the end here for you to see, Pierre Hintz caused chaos and tension within development teams through unclear directives, constantly changing priorities, micromanaging, making creative decisions for others, and failing to address concerns. So this allegation comes from Mr. Reb's anonymous sources that he was speaking to about the troubled development of Halo's remake. Now, obviously, I can't confirm if that's true, so I won't say as much. But it is interesting how even Windows Central, as seen here in July, just last month, had reports that they heard from Halo developers that this Pierre guy was also using his power to control the environment of Halo Studios as well. As Windows Central shows here, as they used Mr. Reb's Gaming again as their source of this information, this Pierre guy has allegedly been reported to HR multiple times for how he treats the Halo devs. It hasn't all stuck, but that's the word around, that the guy who controls and runs Halo right now, that's his reputation, I guess. One of these Halo devs told Mr. Rebs, as seen here, "I was verbally blasted by Pierre. It's emotional and shocking, and to this day, I cannot believe Microsoft Human Resources and Microsoft Legal did not give me the time of day. Pierre literally told me to get the F out of the studio. It traumatized me." Windows Central also confirms here that they can both confirm and deny some of Mr. Reb's claims based on what they heard from Halo developers as well, according to them. But either way, the fact that this Pierre guy is getting the reputation that he is at all, it's not a good sign. If the guy running Halo is constantly at war with his own studio, I mean, how can we expect great games from them? We really can't. This next part I reported on months back, but as seen here, former Halo art director Glenn also claimed that the same Pierre guy was also the source of his problems at the studio, and he has also demanded an investigation as well into what the now former art director calls corruption. None of this is good, but it just keeps happening. Halo's bad decisions are unfolding like layers of an onion. Windows Central said more about Pierre Hintz here. Some suggested that some present-day Xbox producers and managers refused to engage with Pierre without supervision, owing to feeling antagonized and undermined. I was told multiple anecdotes from very separate sources about Pierre exhibiting vocal disrespect for other Xbox studios, teams, and projects, which didn't exactly paint him in a positive light. Okay, so clearly something's going on there. Either everyone is working together behind the scenes, I guess, to destroy the head of Halo Studios, or this Pierre guy may be some form of evil according to all the allegations. But the be-all end-all truth here is that none of this supports Halo in the long term. All it does is drag this game, its community, and its name into the dirt, because the people in charge are clearly in some war behind the scenes. As Windows Central said here in May, that same art director claims that ethical corruption is being used at Halo Studios by their leadership and that it's also breaking the law. It's just crazy, man. Aren't they just making Halo games? Why does the story behind the studio sound like they're mining blood diamonds or something instead? The thing that makes me sad is that these games are clearly being made worse than they were ever before. It's as if the Western gaming industry has lost the ability to create games with the same level of craftsmanship like they used to be able to produce effortlessly. Instead, the games are being outsourced, and because of this, of knowledge baked into the studio's DNA like it used to, or the lack thereof these days, you end up with games that feel worse to play and even lack basic features that the originals already had. For example, in Halo Combat Evolved, when you shoot things, your bullets would be interlaced into the very environment that you would shoot, obviously, right? This was common practice in many games. This wasn't unique to Halo, but it was something that added to the realism of the world. However, in the remake, your shots don't register against the wall. Instead, your shots look like floating, messy, hazy bits of nothing. I wish I was kidding. Watch this clip. Again, how does that even get past your QA? How did no one look at this and think, wow, that's awful, maybe we should fix that? Instead, it just exists in the game now proper, and that's what I mean. These sorts of mistakes are everywhere. Why would you buy something if the remake is both more expensive to buy and it's worse in terms of build quality? It's like you're buying a new home made by contractors, but the toilet can be tipped over because it's not bolted down like it's supposed to be. And the kitchen cupboards are like one slam away from just falling off your walls, but you're expected to pay premium for what is so clearly not a premium job? Why? Why is Microsoft allowing their games to be so routinely placed in this sort of light? Do they not feel embarrassed by the sight of what's been done under their so-called watchful eye? It's like they're regressing. The games are getting worse as time goes on. The leadership at Halo are almost uninterested in making these games at all, but they would just rather send all the development overseas and then just sit on their phones all day and just collect a paycheck and then go home. I unironically wouldn't doubt if someone at Halo Studios right now is working on the clock, but they're on Steam or something else, playing some video game they're not supposed to instead of working. Is it any wonder why this is happening? I mean, we already learned from the leaks that Microsoft a few weeks back that the entire Xbox division was underperforming so poorly that Microsoft had to shave off parts of Minecraft's earnings just to keep the rest of Xbox afloat. It's like Microsoft has to inject some weird assisted program into their own studios because the studios they own, they don't make enough to justify their own existence. And if anyone says I'm lying, okay, look at this from Tweaktown. Microsoft was absolutely using Minecraft to keep Xbox alive. They were essentially cannibalizing their own profits to keep content coming for Xbox Game Pass. Can you imagine what Halo or some other studio that they owned, I guess, whatever, would have looked like if they didn't have Minecraft to save them the way that they do? I honestly don't think there would even be an Xbox gaming division. It would have collapsed in on itself a long time ago. As Xbox's chief financial officer said here, Minecraft is, without a doubt, their biggest driver of profits on Game Pass and beyond. It even likely outdoes Call of Duty if you can believe it. It's not like Microsoft is unaware of this. They openly admitted in that same report how they lost over $300 million in revenue by forcing Call of Duty Black Ops 6 onto their Game Pass service instead of just selling the game outright. How was Halo ever supposed to right this ship in a way that made any sense? It couldn't. There's no reality right now where Halo somehow becomes prominent again like Call of Duty or Minecraft of purchasing power under Halo Studios the way that it is. I said this in another video, but Microsoft needs to just license the Halo IP out to studios who want to make games with that IP. At this point, it's the only way I can see them being able to make something cool instead of here's another remake that is soulless slop, please buy it or we're going to have more layoffs. As Tweaktown showed here in June this year, Microsoft's push for a more expensive Game Pass already ruined their profits to alarmingly low levels. And exactly how would Halo fix any of this? It can't. If Halo as a remake can't even cross a few million copies sold on Xbox alone, in its debut week, mind you, in its home turf where that audience is there and cultivated for Halo specifically, it's over, man. There is nothing that Microsoft can do but honestly pull the plug. I also find it interesting how Activision's experiment, with Black Ops 1 and 2, that should tell Microsoft all they need to know about what they should be doing with Halo. You don't need to remake Halo because you already have the Halo games that people want made for you on your hard drive somewhere at home base. Take the Bungie Halo games as they were, port them over, just like you did with Black Ops 1 and 2 recently, and add crossplay multiplayer so people can play Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and Reach with their friends, regardless of whichever platform they want to. But who are we kidding, right? Halo Studios would probably still find a way to ruin this and screw it up anyways. They would somehow make the matchmaking a mess and would likely take them years to fix it, like they did with Master Chief Collection. Either way, that's their best bet to get Halo back in the eyes and hands of players who already walked away. Give us the Bungie Halo games. I would gladly buy those on another platform, but I don't want anything where 343's hands were used to make the game from the ground up instead. What would that mean for the future of Halo games? In my opinion, can I just be frank with everybody? Who cares? We don't want them anyways. I just want my Bungie Halo games as they were and made by them, and then Halo can walk into the sunset forever. But either way, what Microsoft is doing right now is nothing short of awful, and they have to know that. Either way, as you can see, the story around Halo is going to keep unfolding. I'll keep you up to date as best as I can. But so far, nothing that is going on right now tells me that Halo is currently in a good place, and that these re-releases of old Call of Duty games are cooking them, and now there's layoffs and more too. No wonder the staff there are speaking out against their leadership, but let me know what you think. Subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you guys next time.